If not, EDG are pretty happy to give that to Flandre, Jiejie, Scout, but yeah, it will be taken off by Ultra Prime here.
Pretty Boggs standard first pick here. Really something you cannot give over to the likes of Scout or Flandre. Of course, we did have Doinby's pentakill last week on it as out of nowhere, so definitely a pick that can carry if you needed to. But the Gwen locked in here for the side of EDG, and they've shown, specifically with Flandre, that they are not afraid to just kind of blind pick these solo lanes, get them an early power pick, because they know they're just going to be able to out-team fight later in the game.
Yeah, especially with the power picks like the Gwen, like the Viego as well. You know you're going to have a pretty okay time. I was kind of surprised, though, not to see EDG take the Ezreal here. I thought they'd go with the Ezreal for Viper, and that means that then at least you can, like, put attention towards this Gwen in the top lane, because oftentimes we see Gwen not running things like the Flash, so being able to have Jiejie play through Scout and through Flandre could help out quite a bit. But as we said before, EDG very much focused on these early dragons, so maybe looking instead to try and pick something that gives them the opportunity to have a bit more priority in that early laning phase.
Speaking of opportunities, we are going to see the SMLZ ShiauC Thresh Aphelios combination, and this is something that SMLZ has shown he is totally comfortable with. He's able to put the team on his back and be able to carry with it, and now it's going to be on the onus of EDG to make sure he does not get to that 2-3 items, 200 years of engineering Aphelios that we all know and love.
Yeah, and I mean, he's only picked it up twice, but has a 5 KDA on it, had a 50% win rate. We all saw that clip where he had that monstrous Moonlight Vigil to shut down the opposition, but we're going to have to see if he can have that same plays, and as well as you said, ShiauC, so damn good at these hook champions. But as we move in towards this next laning phase with no jungler really locked in on Ultra Prime, unless Hacker decides to take that Lee Sin, we are going to see EDG taking away the Rumble, potentially take away things like the Udyr, and trying to just make Hacker that little bit uncomfortable. Now, Hacker has actually been our premier Lilia player, so we could end up just seeing him going back to that pick. It has been kind of his bog standard and his most played, despite the fact he's the only one picking it up.
Honestly, I would like to see EDG ban it away. You know, you're taking away AP junglers. It would kind of force him towards something like a Diana, which maybe they have a solution to, but those would be the two picks, the Diana and the Lilia, I would be very much looking towards in this final ban from EDG. Ultra Prime, though, they're going to be banning away the engaged supports, so they're going to ban away the Nautilus. I wouldn't be surprised to see them ban away the Leona, as the EDG, instead of going with the Lilia, they decide to go with the Diana instead.
Yeah, I think they're kind of happy to go like, hey, look, if Lilia comes in, we'll be able to deal with it, right? You've got the Volibear who can try and stun her down, set up for a lot of stuff. You've also, of course, got the Chains of Corruption as well, which can make it a little bit more difficult for Lilia to operate because she needs to get into close quarters. So it looks like they're going to be pretty happy if Hacker goes towards Lilia. Now, you are, I would imagine, going to see that Leona ban that you just talked about, Penguin. Actually going to be the Alistar ban, so maybe we just see the Leona come through here. Or also the opportunity for a Tam Kench if you're terribly worried about how much pressure is going to be coming in on that bottom side. But will be the Leona on the upside now for Ultra Prime. You're looking towards that jungle pick. You're looking towards the mid lane pick here for ShiauC as well, who has kind of gone towards more of those control mages with the Orianna and the Rise being his most played.
Something he has plenty of practice on in the LDL last split, and ShiauC has had a rough start, but I think there's definitely been moments of promise from this young rookie, and fair enough, it's not been a cream de la cream, if you will, from OMG. He hasn't had the same kind of explosive start, but he has shown proficiency in certain champions, and he has shown that he understands the game to a high enough degree that he's able to go toe-to-toe with certain people. Now, when you're bullied 1v2 against Tien and Doinby, there's not a lot you can do about that, but we'll see what they want to try and put him on into that mid lane, as we do see the Viego locked in here. Almost certainly going to be going into the jungle, as we do have the LeBlanc locked in as well.
Your Scout's gonna go Sylas. Like, it's kind of come out as like such a strong pick against the LeBlanc. Scout loves this champion as well, sets up super well in these team fights, and as well, like, think about it, you got some really nice ultimates you can take away here, like the Heartbreaker. You can also look towards that Dragon's Rage on that top side as well. Like, overall, it just has a lot of functions that can work really well in these team fights, and there we go. So you are going to get Hacker going towards this Viego. So at least when we look at Ultra Prime's composition, right, you've got those two super late game scalers coming in with the Viego and also having the Aphelios there, but actually might be getting a last second swap around. I assumed it would be the Viego going jungle. It's where we've seen it most, kind of the mid jungle, but looks like ZS going to take that into the top side, and we got the Season 11 versus Season 11.
Honestly, I like this little bit of an adaptation because the Volibear isn't going to clear exceptionally quickly. Yes, he does fine in the jungle, not going to be a problem at all, but it's not as if the Lee Sin's going to be under pressure with, you know, jungle invades or anyone kind of randomly popping up in his jungle. So you've got a little bit of early game safety, and the Lee Sin is still just a good pick. We are seeing it more in the solo lanes because it does thrive off of that 2-item spike with the Gore Drinker and the Stairs Cage, but it is nice to see it, and especially at LPL, being flexed as the original jungle king as it was.
Yeah, and Hacker, a lot of practice on this champion, has looked exceptional on it, and just kind of falls into that routine we were talking about trying to have this early game impact, trying to get into these lanes and make sure they're able to get ahead. Now, I am a little bit worried about this top lane matchup though, because certainly for the Viego, Gwen dominates the early stages. So Gwen, obviously with that E, right? She gets 40% attack speed, she gets the 100 extra range, she gets magic damage on hit, but the problem for these AD top laners as well is that Gwen's base armor is the highest of any top laner in the game. She's the same base armor 39 as Meiko. Like, that's how tanky she is from those early stages. So when you try to go for these level 1 trades against her, it makes it nigh on impossible. So you got to be very careful as ZS that you're not being caught out by that E where she just snips forward, manages to catch you, and you take a whole bunch of damage in these early stages.
We'll see how that matchup goes as we are jumping onto the riff for game 1 of this best of 3. It is Ultra Prime versus Edward Gaming. Ultra Prime starting to see if they could build themselves back up the ladder that is LPL. EDG already almost at the top, so right now Meiko sitting at this bush needs to be a little bit careful as ShiauC was roaming around, seeing if he can catch anyone with a sweeper. But all in all, just some light information given over by both sides. They know where both bot lanes is. They know there's no shenanigans just yet.
Yeah. Now, when we look at EDG's comp, we're going to be looking to see if Jiejie can try and have an impact up towards that top side, but also obviously down towards this bottom side of the map as well. We talked about EDG wanting to have a lot of control when it comes towards these early dragons. Well, Viper and Meiko should have priority in that lane. So if Jiejie is able to come down, you can try and set up for some of these plays and punish Smlz before we get that later scaling coming in. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jiejie kind of going for this reset and looking for some sort of play down towards the bottom side in and around the 5.5 minute mark.
Keep that timer in mind, as we do see Jiejie now taking his grub, and of course Hacker going to be able to, on the opposite side, take his red and his Krugs. I'm curious to see where Hacker goes. You talked about the early agency a little bit in Champ Selects. We see, whoa, double ignite pop down in this top side. ZS gets the slightly favorable trade into Flandre, and a little bit of a misstep there from Flandre. He's going to have to succeed the level 2 rush and get himself back into a position. He actually went with the Doran's Blade this time around just to try and get that extra sustain.
Yeah, usually we see the Doran's Ring, and oftentimes works out a little bit better because you get the double pots, you can trade aggressively. I actually think ZS played that really well. From what I could see there, the E had started to time out, and that's when ZS went all in on this aggressive trade. So looks like Flandre missed timing the E and not actually being able to damage ZS as much, and then ZS just having nice idea there to try and turn that around right as he saw that that ability start to time out.
And that does open up ZS to be able to push this on the turret. It opens him up to be able to put that nice aggressive ward in the tri-bush, so he knows he's in relative safety as the Hacker Lee Sin is there. He has been spotted on his blue buff, so they know exactly where Hacker is. He now knows he's been spotted as it does die onto the blue buff, but now Jiejie, where does he want to go? It looks like he doesn't want to go for any kind of scrap, recognizes that he does not have any priority in top or mid, and is instead going to try and maybe wrap himself around in this bot side. This could be dangerous for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, a lot earlier than I was expecting, but Ultra Prime haven't been able to crash this. Viper and Meiko have actually frozen this outside the turret, and now he's bypassed all the wards.
He has bypassed all the wards, and they find him just a little bit too late, though. The flash there. There's the lantern. They do burn one summoner away from ShiauC. Jiejie not willing to commit his flash to get on top of the Aphelios because he had still had all of his summoners.
Yeah, now though you can see Smlz and ShiauC still have pressure in that bottom side, so Jiejie forced to step away from the scuttle with LeBlanc having prio mid. Now EDG's bot lane starting to force their way into river to try and help out Jiejie.
Ooh, this could be a bit of a scrap going in. There's the Zenith Blade, just get knocked back there by the fillets. They jump in on top of ShiauC. He has no flash. Now Jiejie feels like he can go for it and will pick up first blood. EDG capitalizing on the burnt summoner from earlier.
Yeah, just be able to catch out ShiauC there, and that's kind of the danger of going for that play, especially with how spread out Ultra Prime were. And as well, they never got the scuttle there for Hacker. So for Jiejie, he still has the opportunity to move back up. Actually got a reset, not realizing that Hacker hadn't taken that, but still the opportunity to at least answer for the clear that Hacker has gone for.
I have to quickly look at my minimap there. I was like, did I take it? There's a ward there, but it's kind of small. But I think you're absolutely correct. Did not take it. We do see ShiauC going back into the mid lane. Scout a level down for the moment, but still scaling up. Will do rather nicely into this matchup once he hits that level 6, as he's able to mimic and copy all of the LeBlanc's abilities. And for the side of Ultra Prime, this is not really what you want to be seeing. Yes, it's only ShiauC who didn't lose Smlz, but you can start to see that pressure building, and it is very much going to be on Smlz's shoulders to kind of carry them throughout these kind of team fights that we know EDG are so damn good at.
Meiko going across enemy lines there. I was a little bit worried because I could see ShiauC moving up river and Hacker also there in the jungle, but not going to go for it, and just going to pop that shield on the Rift Herald or Rift Scuttler now to let Jiejie pick that up. And this is kind of the timing that we were talking about, right? Like, look at where Viper is frozen this lane on bot side. You can either keep this lane frozen here and make it really difficult for ShiauC and Smlz to actually get anything on this bottom side, or they can hard shove it, and now you can look for the reset off with Scout and also the big wave that's built on the bottom side to turn this in towards dragons. And EDG, where they said, look, they're first in when it comes to that first dragon rate and also the number of dragons they get per game.
Ooh, they're going to land the Sonic Wave onto Flandre, who gets slowed down as well, but ZS not really in a position to follow up. The beauty of going no flash top is that, yes, the Gwen doesn't have it, but your Viego doesn't have it either, so can't really follow up in any kind of significant way unless they are 100% ready for it. Scout did TP back into the mid lane. It took about half of the HP off of ShiauC, and this is where it starts to get a little bit more difficult. You can see, I love this from ShiauC. Immediately goes for the Oblivion Orb, recognizes the healing is going to be absolutely monstrous from someone like the Sylas, and just trying to keep this matchup as even as possible.
Yeah, we see that an awful lot against people like the Sylas, especially because we've gone back towards that Conqueror rune in the Sylas. People now opting to go for the Kingslayer max instead of going towards like the Fleet Footwork with the Chain max, so you end up getting a lot of healing in this lane, and it makes sense against the LeBlanc as well, because with the trading pattern you get in this lane, it's about trying to, as LeBlanc goes in with Distortion, trade really aggressively against her, use that Kingslayer after you've taken the full burst damage from ShiauC, and then trying to follow up with your own Chain Lash as ShiauC returns to his own Distortion. So a lot of back and forth and a lot of mind games going on when you look at this matchup in the mid lane.
Just looking at Hacker, hasn't really had the kind of early game impact that we wanted to see from him on these Lee Sin. Has definitely tried, but not really getting the right kind of cement down to build the foundation upon which Ultra Prime can build a potential victory. Smlz down to about a quarter of his HP. He needs to be so careful. Has got the Gravitum and the Crescendum, but will be working towards the, I imagine, the Severum as his next few guns as he tries to stay in lane. But this is the power of a Varus Leona. Just so much kill pressure in this lane.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about the level 6 being hit, right? And you've just got Jiejie who's hit level 6, who straight away is like, you know what, I'm playing around bot side. There's the dragon that he's starting up. If you stay around as Smlz, you are in dire traits, because you've always got to worry about that dive coming through from Jiejie, but he will get the reset. So again, we talk about Viper and Meiko being these big carries from the bottom lane. Well, already you can see that they're putting that force down, getting this CS lead for themselves, and it's why this bot lane has become such a nuisance for everyone in the LPL.
Well, Scout gonna get Flash away as he does get the chain down. They do land the Sonic Wave and the Dragon's Waves. Jiejie is not quite in position. Nice receive there from Ultra Prime, able to catch out the EDG mid laner.
Gorgeous from Hacker as well. The Flash Dragon's Rage to make sure the ShiauC can get the kill. Sylas isn't underneath the tower, and they're able to burst him down. And this is something that I love seeing from especially aggressive mid laners, is the jungler giving them a little bit more attention. It was one of the big criticisms I had from like a lot of these LDL guys that were coming up, where they just weren't getting the attention. Like people like Captain on TT were like, okay, they picked this LeBlanc pick and then be left to their own devices. They'd never get a lead. They couldn't actually get out on their own because they didn't have that help, or at least that little nudge to get them into position. Now though, you got ShiauC who's managed to get this help. Scout goes down, and you've got ShiauC now open to go for these plays, go for kills, and a little bit more go in his back pocket.
Just a very smooth little pick potential there. They recognized the dragon had just gone down. They had an opportunity over the next few seconds to go for something. Speaking of going for something, hook lands. It's only onto Meiko. He pops himself the W, so he should be totally fine to take up that little bit of health. But great start there into the mid lane, but I think the biggest issue right now for the side of Ultra Prime is this bot side. You're about 20 CS behind, maybe about 15 once this wave gets eaten up by the Aphelios. And that's where this game can get a little bit dicey. You hit 1 or 2 good piercing arrows now from the side of Viper. This Aphelios is just null and void. Oh, I'm gonna say that. They're gonna go, whoa! Okay! And that is the power of the blighted quivers you get with the Varus on the Q. That is just an insane amount of burst damage. And again, we're seeing EDG pick up these 2v2 kills. They're going to look for even more as Smlz is forced to flash.
Yeah, that's going to be the 4th dual lane kill now for the EDG bot lane as we get that pressure towards top.
We do have a little bit of pressure. Sonic Wave does not land. We're going to see the Viego ultimate committed as the mist goes down. The Ignite is ticking onto Flandre, but they are able to trade the Lee Sin first. Now we got a bit of a switcheroo as the Viego's now the Gwen, and he's trying to get himself out. Does get the reset on the ult and gets himself to safety. Still able to pick up the Rift Herald, but 2 kills to 1 in favor of EDG. It's all about where this Rift Herald goes, which is going to be important for Ultra Prime.
I just think it's unfair that, like, Ultra Prime and Draft give across. Oh my god, hang on. ShiauC Aphelios gone.
He's deleted. I don't know exactly what happened there, but he's gone from the map, and that's all that matters at this point as Jiejie gets himself in, gets himself his 3rd kill of the game, and it's about a 1,500 gold lead now for the side of EDG as they're taking away camps, they're taking away experience, they're taking away everything from the side of Ultra Prime.
Yeah, and this is something we've seen actually a lot from ShiauC about, where, look, as we said, this guy's only just coming up from the LDL, has a lot of promise, but he does tend to go a bit over-aggressive in laning phase, ends up giving over these kills pretty consistently. Now, it is only the first one of the game, but you can see, right, 3 kills now for Jiejie. Scout's in a good spot, and we're going to get the replay here as ShiauC sitting just below half HP, and Scout, I'm assuming, just comes over the wall with the chains. Yeah, distortion's in. Go? He's got nowhere to go. You're done for.
Bit of an unforced error there from ShiauC and very much giving over a lot of agency to the side of Edward Gaming. They're able to get themselves some wards down. They're able to get themselves a push in the mid lane as well. Get a free reset, of course. So Scout has got his TP available. Doesn't have to use that to try and push back into mid. And a minute 20 till this next dragon spawns. And it feels how we've been perceiving and how we've been looking at EDG all year. They are good at what they do. They don't care about the early game as much. They don't need to be explosive. They just need to do their job. And Scout very much on his way to the Everfrost. You've got bot lane with the Prowler's Claw, which he's going to go aggressive onto. Have got the cleanse to be burnt as Smlz gets caught up. As you can see, Meiko tanking up the turret. Good cleanse from Viper off of the hook as the box comes down from ShiauC. This bot lane is starting to get a little spicy here for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, especially his 40 seconds on that dragon, as you said, Penguin. They want to get pressure on this bottom side and then try and translate that into the next dragon, but Smlz just barely getting out. And you can already see he realizes that he's going to be taking a lot of pressure this game, a lot of damage this game. Going to move up towards the Immortal Shield Bow rather than the Kraken Slayer, just because of the amount of bruisers that are going to be gunning for him and getting that survivability in this team fight.
Plenty of pressure here from EDG. They've got the push in mid. You can see Jiejie so powerful with his Divine Sunderer right now. Can just walk up. Despite all the kills and despite everything that's gone down, he's actually behind in a level as of right now. ZS and Flandre going 1 for 1 as we see Scout forced to flash. They land the Sonic Wave. Will he be able to take down the kill? No, he can't get him. He's just a little bit too far away. Oh, it's disaster. And that's fantastic for EDG. They're able to get another kill onto Jiejie, excuse me.
Scout held that Kingslayer for so long. Baits Hacker in underneath the tower. You can see barely escapes with an inch of HP. That means Hacker does go down with Jiejie coming across, and now EDG, they get another dragon for themselves without any sort of contention. You're already starting to see this 2,000 gold lead open up. Jiejie as well, now looking to see if he can make this play in the bottom side.
Oh, no cleanse, no flash, nowhere to go. Deleted. ShiauC might be next on the list.
God.
Double kill for the sniper. That is Viper. Shouts about TP's in, but to what end? There is nothing for you here. And that is going to be EDG doing what EDG do best. Win bot side.
Yeah, the Sniper Viper got you hyper. This is going nuts from EDG in the bottom lane. And I love seeing Viper on these strong picks like the Varus, where he's just able to pop off. And now, Scout, gonna see if he can get on towards Hacker, but we'll just back away. Is honestly, like, a Hacker just trying to toss down this Rift Tower in the hopes that he'll get something back on the map. But this is something you see a lot against EDGs. They're pretty fine to just go, right, we don't care. We're going to give this Rift Tower across. Yes, you might get a bit of gold, but the amount of pressure we create on the map while you're taking that is far more important to us. And we're going to end up seeing this play from Scout. Like, look how long he holds onto the Kingslayer. Just barely gets it in as Hacker goes for the all-in. And Scout squirms away with just a tiny bit of HP.
4-0-2 on Jiejie. 0-1 and 2 for Scout, who's had so much pressure thrown onto him. 3-0 and 1 for Viper in this bot side. And now ShiauC, he might be in a little bit of trouble. No wave right now, but they've got two tanky boys. As the Zenith Blade does not land, the Distortion on a low enough cooldown at this stage of the game to be able to use it twice and keep himself safe. But now Flandre might be in a little bit of trouble in this top side. You can see the side of EDG can't really do much against the Viego Lee Sin combination, and good signs here from Ultra Prime, using as much as they can to get themselves back into this series.
Yeah, at least trying to trade across map, and they will get something, right? Plus, being able to move Smlz into that mid lane will help keep him a little bit safer, but we've now got to... Not that. You gotta not see that. That is not what we want to see for Ultra
That is not
Prime.
exactly ideal coming out.
No.
I don't know what it is, but that ain't it.
What I was about to say is that I wanted to see them actually, like, start to use ZS. Like, this is where he's got to be the big carry. He looked like he's going to be going towards that wit's end as well. Like, he realizes, hey, look, against Gwen, even the Sylas, the mixed damage from Volley, having that little bit more resistance is going to be great. But ZS needs to be the carry now. This guy's been set up to succeed. He's the one that's got to start moving around the map and making sure that Ultra Prime can try and claw their way back into this game and buy time for Smlz to get towards his items.
So difficult to get there. Of course, these are all just the options of which they have to try and, work towards. Very, very much easier said than done as EDG now start themselves up on the Rift Herald. 2 minutes until the Dragon spawns. That will put them onto Soul Point. It is a Mountain Soul. We weren't able actually to talk about that as there was too many fights going on, as EDG now really starting to pick up the pace, working through the gears. And I think that's the best way I can describe EDG as a team, is that they are just a team that is just like going up through the gears in a car. You started first, it's like, all right, cool, grand, no bother. Up to second, all right, getting a bit faster. Third, fourth, fifth, they're too fast. There's nothing you can do. They're on the S-Bahn or the Uber. I can't remember what it's called in Germany. I can't remember exactly the track is called, but they're just. The Nürburgring, I was thinking about. S-Bahn is the train in Berlin. It's also quite fast.
I feel like it's quite fast, yes, but also the feeling you get of just like standing there holding on to the railing, maybe not.
Yeah.
But look, I do agree, but it does feel very methodical with EDG, right? Like, we talk about play through dragons. Hey, look, we're at our second dragon. Next one's in a minute. We're getting this priority mid using the Herald. Cool, there's our third dragon. And it just feels like there is that ramp up where it's like, cool, we're going to get Scout ahead. Scout's now ahead. Okay, cool. Now let's position ourselves towards bottom lane. Bottom lane's ahead. Cool. Flandre playing that weak side top lane. Will eventually come into these fights and still be a menace, but needs time to, like, you kind of get this very methodical play style with EDG. And it's why, despite the fact that they are, like, dominating in this mid game in so many of their series, that we don't actually get that quick closeout. Like, they're still one of the longer teams. They're still pushing that 32-minute average game time. Like, it's not a very quick closeout from them in the grand scheme of things.
Slow, methodical, strategic, if you will, tempered. So many different words. I've got this thesaurus in front of me, as all good casters should, as we now work towards the, coming up to about 19 minutes into the game, 10 seconds till that dragon spawns. There is just so much vision right now for the side of EDG in the enemy red side, as we can see ShiauC seeing if he can catch out Flandre, but Flandre wise to his tricks. And actually, a curious little adaptation we're seeing here from ZS. Actually goes with the wit's end second after the Divine Sunderer, so looking for more survivability. Definitely looking for that 1v1 in a side lane split push game.
Yeah, and look, we are going to look at this dragon now, but this is one of the things that impresses me about EDG so much, is how often they get this soul dragon without contest. And we're going to see it here again. their Soul Point, and also, honestly, the Soul Dragon. But it's mostly because they've actually created such a large lead for themselves that it's not impossible for the opponents to actually contest them. I mean, you've got that mid lane completely shoved in, bot lane is shoved in, Flandre's pushed out that wave in top. Like, there's too many pressure points in the map for Ultra Prime to be like, cool, we are safe to go and start fighting at this dragon. And even if you do, you know that you've already got like 2 items completed on towards Viper. Scout very quickly working towards that Banshee's Veil. It doesn't feel like you're actually in a position to fight. And this happens so damn consistently for EDG that it feels like daylight robbery how often they get to the 3rd dragon with no one fighting them.
Yeah, it feels like even if you wanted to, you can't. It's just a death sentence at that stage, and it's better just to let them go into the 3rd Drake position rather than fight them and lose even more at that particular position. Because you see them there, like we talked about the vision, you talked about the setup. There's just so much there for the side of EDG, as we can see ShiauC. I think that is the most relatable reaction to seeing Jiejie and Scout in that bush for the side of ShiauC. Just a perfectly set up thing, as Meiko is on the Leona. It's fairly tanky, but not quite able to be taken down. The Solar Flare not going to land just yet. Chain of Corruption misses as well. A lot of ultimates used there for the side of EDG, but they don't get any purchase from it.
Yeah, all they're trying to do is get vision in this bottom side jungle, right? So Scout has a little bit more wiggle room to go towards this bot lane turret. They've already worked half the health down on this mid lane turret as well, but this is kind of that slow methodical thought process we were talking about with EDG, right? It's now get the vision to start pushing in, and now the fact that Viper is 4-0 to be that siege machine that we need to crack open some of these extra structures. And while this is all going on, Flandre is still sitting in this top side. He's getting towards his Cosmic Drive. He's going to be in a pretty decent spot. He just needs time to grow, and that's what EDG are buying for him here.
Yep, just use...
You know that I know that we know.
Yeah, there's a lot of plans upon plans, but they did not plan for that as ZS does fall. The support from EDG was first there, and they're able to capitalize on that fight. They end up taking out the top laner that is ZS, and we can see now ShiauC force a flash away, but there's Hacker taking a lot of damage. His Chain of Corruption did land onto the jungler of Ultra Prime, but the Zenith Blade is good on the ShiauC, who has no longer got a flash. And now EDG, after taking 2 kills, after burning so many summoners off of the side of Ultra Prime, may look for this Baron.
And they're going to be able to get it again. Like, you've already made the picks. No support, no top laner. Now, ZS does have his teleport to get here. But do you really feel like Ultra Prime can fight right now? They haven't hit their items whatsoever.
Hacker just taking so low, goes in, but immediately deleted. There will be no Baron stealing today for Ultra Prime. And now EDG, they're up into 3rd, maybe even close to 4th gear right now. 2 minutes until that Mountain Soul point, and they have a 7,000 gold lead.
And this is kind of what we expected, right? EDG, the team that right now, if they win this series, become the top place team in the LPL. Like, this is what we expected from them against teams like Ultra Prime, where it doesn't even feel like you get a look in. It's just so smooth, so clean from EDG and how they're able to close out these games.
And even players like Flandre still being so relevant, still being so annoying to deal with from the side of Ultra Prime, despite having gone down 2 kills, despite having tried to put a lot of pressure into that top side, despite ZS literally building specifically for that matchup with the Wit's End. There's just not a lot you can do. You're just too far behind. This Viper Sniper, 3 items as he gets a cleanse, flashes away as well. Now ZS goes a little bit too far forward, and he might be caught out. Yes, he is. But finally, Viper does go down. ShiauC stretching all the way with all his dashes and his flashes to pick up that kill. Now Jiejie searching, posturing for something around this red buff. Looks like he's going to be waiting here for Scout.
Wait a second.
Oh, don't know about that one, Chief. Jiejie gets himself out, but Scout wants to go back in. The Zhonya's has been hit here for Scout as he does go golden. Yes, EDG, you are far ahead, but you're not that far ahead. You still have opportunities here from the side of Ultra Prime. They get themselves a kill. They lose 1 for 1, but they get out with their lives.
I just want someone to, like, remix a couple of the plays that we've seen just with the nope sound effect, because we saw ShiauC about hopping out of there real quick. I think Jiejie had took a similar page out of that book, but you can see here Viper, he went way too far here. Didn't realize that ZS was there. ZS gets a nice stun, burns the cleanse, and then as ShiauC about able to follow up really effectively here. Flash forward, manages to pick him off just with the electrocute damage, and then move back to safety. Oh wow, okay.
We might be seeing another pick-off here as ShiauC taking ever so low, but the TP on the backside is what I'm going to be looking at right now. It's now going to be a 5v4 as here comes Flandre, using that needlework to just stitch everyone down. Snitches get stitches as Flandre gets himself back into this team fight, back into the ascendancy, has the Zhonya's as well, but they're not done. EDG, scout flash forward, not quite able to land onto anybody just yet. They're going to be eventually taking him down. That's going to be Hacker falling off as ZS finds himself on top of Viper, but it is Viper and Jiejie who take him down. It is a near 10,000 gold lead. It's going to be sole point, and this game feels all but over right now for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, again, it just felt like EDG were in the driver's seat this whole time. There's the kick on towards ShiauC.
Oh my god! There we go. We're going to go for the fight once more. As you can see, Scout just tanking up just a little bit too much, but they won't care. EDG know that they are the ones in charge. They are the ones that are at large, and they are the ones that are going to be able to break open this base.
Yeah, and now it becomes so much more difficult as well to like even look to make this composition from ZS or from Ultra Prime work, right? Because ShiauC's assassination potential against the Mountain Dragon just doesn't do a huge amount. Smlz as well still needs time as Jiejie, the lone warrior, might need some help.
The lone bear is the deadliest. You don't corner an animal, Dagda. You corner an animal, they're willing to do anything to get out of it, and that Jiejie had his friends coming back into him. He is 5-0-6. He has been honestly so on form this game. Yes, he's down a little bit in CS, but that does not matter because he's just been farming champions.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the progress Jiejie has made, because it feels like we're again moving over towards his more gank oriented style with this meta. When we're looking at like him versus Junja from this time last year, like a lot of people are like, we actually prefer Junja, we prefer Jiejie, but Jiejie is certainly coming in and just kind of stomping out that conversation. Everyone's on the Jiejie hype train. This guy looks insane. He's playing so damn well. And one of the things I always loved about Jiejie was his ability to find these objectives, was his ability to understand, hey look, this is where I can path on the map, to make sure that we're able to get these early dragons, get these rift towers for themselves. Now, EDG not so worried about rift towers anymore, but definitely the dragons stacking has been because of Jiejie.
And honestly, just the mentorship he's been able to receive from Clearlove, one of the OGs, if not the OG, if you will, if you're counting contract numbers for the LPL. This guy has been, 001. The guy was literally the first contract to put on the database, and having that guy in your corner, telling you all these different matchups, and also just competing with you technically as well. Like Jiejie, yes, is the starter, but Clearlove is there in the background. Clearlove is still very high in Korean solo queue as well as Chinese solo queue, so you always have that little bit of competition, and it really has just looked like it's worked complete wonders for this man. And EDG are reaping the rewards as he has just gone from strength to strength to strength. We had a couple of criticisms maybe in the start of last spring, a couple of criticisms of course in 2020, and he's just gotten better and better and better, and I feel like the meta right now for EDG as a whole just suits them down to the ground.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see these guys start to move. Obviously we kind of touch the playoffs, but Worlds as well. Like, it really does feel like EDG will be taking one of those world slots. They just look so damn good. They got the semi-finals last year as well in the winner's side of the bracket, so I feel like with the points that they've managed to accumulate for themselves, and also looking at the just how goddamn strong they look, it feels like they'll be taking one of those slots. Yeah.
We'll see. It's a long season to go, as this will be
we're nearly
EDG's.
halfway.
I was going to say, this will be... It depends on who you look at. So if you're looking at RNG, we're not quite. But if you're looking at EDG, yes. As we're going to see EDG going for this Baron. The TP going to be given from ZS, but it's too late. It's gone. Now you need to run away for Ultra Prime. You can't go in for this. But that's a great Dragon's Kick to start this one all off as Hacker tries to make something work for his team. But they just haven't got the damage. They just haven't got the money. They're going to get slapped in the face of the wallet. It's like, what does 10k feel like? Bang! That's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. And now the rest of EDG are just pushing forward, hunting for these kills. Smlz is running away for his life. Not going to be able to be taken down just yet, but this game is pretty much done. They're even flashing forward, not quite in range for all of these abilities, but this game with the Baron, with the 12,000 gold lead, is EDG's to take the lead in the series.
Yeah, the Nexus turrets will fall 20 seconds until, or 10 seconds until anyone else from Ultra Prime can come about, and EDG looking for more.
Gonna pad out those stats. Flandre saying, hey, I started off 1-2. I wanted to get up to 5-2, and that is going to be the first win, an expected win for EDG. Cool, calm, collected. Honestly, never felt in doubt.
Yeah, I mean, a confident game one from EDG, and this is kind of what we come to expect, right? Domination in that bottom side of the map. 20 CS lead, 2 solo kills going across, and then you get Jiejie coming into the mix as well. Spoke his head in going, hey, I heard there was a party down here, and from that point on, it just, EDG have all the control that they need. Dragons are going their favor. They give up that first Rift Tower because it's just like, hey, look, we're just going to trade that for gold on the bottom side of the map, trade that for time. Our jungler can get involved with our laners. And it means that they're just able to come out with this mid-game gold lead, turn that into that quick win, well, by their standards, at that 28-minute mark.
Yeah, honestly, it's exactly what we expect from EDG. There's nothing really we could say more about that. For Ultra Prime, Hacker tried. He definitely tried. And we did say before we came into the series, this is a absolutely monumental team to try and come up against. But I suppose it's just fitting that the player we highlighted to try and make plays did, but it's just the caliber of team he's against. There's just nothing he can do.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here was, like, I was relatively impressed with ZS. I thought he did a really good job in that top lane. Like we talked about, like the level 1 from Gwen is stupidly oppressive, especially against those AD champions. The fact that he was able to play around that level 1, make sure that he waited out the ability cooldown on that E from the Gwen, and then go aggressive, gets that really nice trade, actually forces Flandre back. And from that point on, he just has full control of that lane. And I thought that was really, really impressive from ZS, but obviously not able to follow that through. And it just felt like, even though he had this lead, there was just nowhere for him to try and place it. Because, yes, he managed to get like that early Divine Sunder, but you've got Viper who's out of control, Scouts popping up, you got a 3-kill Volibear who's kind of just standing there licking his lips as you go in towards him. So there's just nothing for you to do.
Honestly, it felt like ZS was like, I did it, and then turn around and just fires everywhere in the rest of the rest of the map, and he's like, oh, okay, I'll just keep going then. And as I said, like I mentioned him a little bit briefly, like I do believe ZS is having a very good split and holding at least his own against some of the top lane top talent that we have. Like you look at the likes of Zoom, Flandre, Ale coming up into the conversation now. Of course, you've got Nuguri. You know, these are world caliber top laners that are probably, you know, the best in their position in the entire world. And I do feel like ZS, sadly, is just in the class of monsters, if you will. He's a good top laner, but at the moment, you got to be a great top laner to really stand out.
Yeah, and I will say, like, he has had his moments, right? When you see him on picks like the set, I thought he was really, really good at getting those engages off for Ultra Prime, setting up for a lot of these team fights incredibly well, but unfortunately for him here, just wasn't enough, right? You can see the damage there from Viper, nearly 21,000. You look at Smlz, who just never really got up and running. He got punished already in the laning phase with Meiko and Viper, and then when you add into the fact he's an Aphelios who's behind with no items against everyone else on EDG apart from Flandre being crazy fed, he's just not gonna have a good time.
No, the fact that Jiejie nearly did twice the amount of damage as him is just very telling, I suppose. And this is why we tend to see people, especially the top teams, veer away from the Aphelioses, the Jinxes, the things that can be heavily punished, like things like the Varus or the Ezreal or even a Kai'Sa in those early games. And this feels like it's a comfort pick for Smlz, but your guys' top tier talent, they're going to know how to deal with it. We'll see if they do change up anything coming into the draft in Game 2, but before then, we're going to send it to a quick break, and when we return, it'll be right around the corner.